The Lens Lab printer, where profits hide. Walk past the frames and into the room most customers never see. The hum isn't retail music, it's surfacers, blockers, edgers, ovens. This is where a $5 frame turns into a $300 ticket and where margins hide in plain sight under words like premium, HD, and advanced. The story you hear at the counter, "Your eyes need this," was written to fit what the machines already do very cheaply. Start with a lens blank. It looks like a clear hockey puck made by a handful of global suppliers at scale. The lab loads it into a CNC surfacer that carves a prescription curve you can't see until a tech holds it to the light. Then it gets coated. Anti-reflective, scratch-resistant, hydrophobic, oliphobic, all accurate-sounding chemistry that costs pennies to a few dollars in materials and time per pair. The price you pay at retail for the coating stack. Often $50 here, $100 there, stacked like bricks. House brand versus branded tech is the neatest trick. The process steps are similar, etch, layer, cure, but the labels change the perceived value. The lab can run the same AR stack under a house name for owned stores and rent a fancier co-brand for independents. That's why you'll hear, our in-house premium coating is equivalent to name brand Ultra, followed by a quiet nudge to choose the one covered by your allowance. When the owner of the lab and the owner of the retail share a parent, equivalence becomes a pricing instrument, not just an engineering statement. Add-on stacking is where the printer really was. Blue light has become a default upsell line, better sleep, less strain, digital life. In practice, many blue light products are simply tinted or yacht-tweaked coatings with modest effects under real-world indoor lighting. Hydrophobic, smudges wipe easier. Anti-fog, useful in pockets, priced like a breakthrough. Progressive lenses, genuinely complex for some prescriptions, become a tiered menu. Standard, digital, premium, ultra. The machine time difference between those tiers can be minutes. The price difference can be hundreds. Turnaround speed doubles as leverage. An own shop promises ready in an hour because the edging room upstairs keeps a rolling inventory of common blanks and coatings. An independent sends jobs to a lab in the same network and gets quoted 3 days. The machines didn't slow down for the independent, the queue did. Speed is a gate, and gates are valuable when you can open them only for yourself. Here's a micro story from a Tuesday morning. A parent orders lenses for a squirmy 8-year-old. The optician taps the screen. "We'll do premium AR, blue light, and hydrophobic. Trust me, kids need the durability." The parent nods. In the lab, the job card prints with 3 upcharges and 1 substrate polycarbonate. Material cost, low. Time on machine, under an hour total including cure. Retail delta, more than a week's groceries. The optician isn't lying about durability. The part left unsaid is how little those layers cost to apply at scale. Marketing calls coatings technology, but the most profitable line items are operational, not scientific. Breakage rates improve with in-house handling. Own the lab, reduce shipping, lower remakes. Returns, a lens remade in-house costs the system a few dollars and some queue time. That's why warranties look generous. The margin pays for them 10 times over. Offer a free remake within 30 days, and customers feel safe choosing the highest tier. Fear of buyer's remorse disappears. Average revenue per pair jumps. The lab's sales sheet to independents tells another story. Private label coatings that match the branded spec, but contracts that nudge volume into certain SKUs to keep per job pricing competitive. Sneak in a lab mandate through an insurance plan, say EyeMed's preferred partners, and suddenly an independent's choices narrow. The independent believes they're choosing the best chemistry for the patient. The contract quietly optimizes margin capture for the parent company. Then there's lens design branding. Freeform digital progressives sounds cutting edge, and some designs truly are more comfortable, but many differences live in software, how the corridor is mapped, where aberrations get pushed. Those maps are vendor IP, yes, but the production steps remain remarkably similar. Software licensing fees are real, so is the aura that lets a design leap 2 price tiers. Sell the algorithm, then sell the feeling that the algorithm rescued your vision from the old world. A common myth is that lenses are expensive because they're medical devices. They are custom and they do matter to your sight, but health status doesn't write the price, integration does. When the same group touches the blank, the coding, the edging, the retail, and the claim, it can set a price ceiling and then make every path lead there. Even discounts become theater. A coupon here, an insurance allowance there, and the final out-of-pocket sits neatly where the model predicts you won't revolt. Here is where independence struggles. An unaffiliated optician can source great lenses from a third-party lab at fair wholesale. But if their patients carry plans that penalize out-of-network fills, the optician faces a choice. lose the sale, or route the job through the plan's lab, often owned by a competitor. Either way, the parent company's machines hum. What nobody knew in the showroom was that the most technical room in the building is also the most profitable. It hums quietly because nobody needs to see it. You only need to believe that each tap on the upsell screen is a guardian angel for your eyes. The tech has value. The spread is the secret. And once the system learns to turn minutes of machine time into hundreds of dollars reliably, it looks for the last missing piece. A payer that blesses the stack, owning the insurance into the pay yourself twice. The last missing piece wasn't a better frame or a faster coater. It was the hand that decides which counter you stand at and what feels like a deal. That hand wears an insurance logo. In vision care, allowances don't just lower your price, they steer your feet. And when the plan and the store and the lab share a parent, every direction points home. Meet EyeMed. It's the vision benefits company that sits under the Essilor Luxottica umbrella alongside LensCrafters, Pearl Vision, Target Optical, Sunglass Hut, and the lens labs that finish the job. On paper, it's a network. In practice, it's a traffic system with lights timed for one avenue. Members think they're choosing among in-network options. The options often funnel to banners the parent already owns. That's not a glitch, it's the model. Here's how the game feels from the chair. You sign up for coverage at work. The welcome kit arrives with a tidy chart. Exam allowance, frame allowance, lens allowance, copies. You feel protected against sticker shock. Then your doctor, conveniently co-located next to a chain optical, hands you a prescription and walks you to the floor. Good news, your plan covers $150 toward frames. The frames you just tried on, tagged at $230 to $400. The allowance collapsed the gap between your resistance and the house's price. You didn't haggle, you didn't leave. The plan did the soft sell for them. Out of network is where the nudge turns into a shove. Maybe you like an independent across town. Same quality lenses, maybe a better fit. Your plan says you can go out of network. Sure, just submit a claim and accept a much smaller reimbursement. That penalty isn't medical necessity, it's steering. The independent's quote might beat the chain's out-of-pocket total, but the paperwork friction and foregone benefit push you back to the own store. The parent wins either way. Retail margin in network, lab margin if the independent caves and uses the mandated lab. Formularies make the steering invisible. An EyeMed plan might list covered lens designs and coatings with certain copies, while placing other brands in higher tiers or off the sheet. Guess who sets those tiers? The same group that owns proprietary designs and coatings. If you ask for a non-house progressive because you've worn it for years, you'll hear, "We can do that, but your copy jumps a lot." You don't change because you love the house lens. You change because the cost map was drawn to make you switch. Lab mandates close the loop. For many in-network providers, the contract requires routing lens orders through designated preferred labs. Those labs often sit inside the same corporate family. An independent optician who wants to serve EyeMed patients at competitive prices ends up sending jobs through the parent's lines. Even if that optician sources frames elsewhere, the parent captures the most profitable piece, the lens work, plus all the SKU data tied to that sale. Data is the currency nobody sees on the receipt. Claims data shows what you were prescribed, how often you buy, whether you lean toward premium coatings, whether you switch to contacts in summer, whether you redeem second pair deals. Pair that with point-of-sale data from owned stores and you get a buyer profile that can be priced to the ceiling you won't cross. Promotions stop being generic. They become surgical. 40% off frames this week for you, not because it's generous, but because the model knows you'll still bite on premium lenses at full freight. Here's a micro story. A software engineer with EyeMed coverage visits an in-network clinic for a routine exam. She prefers a boutique downtown, but the receptionist says, "Your best benefits apply here." On the floor, she picks a $310 frame. The associate taps the screen. "Your allowance is $150. Great pick." Then comes the menu. Standard AR included, but the work-from-home package adds blue light, hydrophobic, and anti-smudge for $120. Progressives, she's not there yet. Checkout total after plan, $278. She walks out feeling smart. She used her benefit. In the background, the lab prints margin, the retailer books the sale, the insurer processes the claim, and the parent company recognizes revenue on every rung. When the insurer and retailer are cousins, language gets careful. Allowance sounds like a gift. Exclusive network savings sounds protective. What it often means is that prices were set high enough for the allowance to feel like relief without threatening the average ticket. Even the eye exam becomes a routing tool. Free exam with purchase ties clinical care to retail conversion. Release of your prescription might be frictioned by verification timelines that happen to keep you shopping inside the same four walls while you wait. Regulators have looked occasionally. Antitrust headlines flare, settlements nibble at practices, structural separation rarely follows. Why? Because each piece inspected alone can be defended. Networks improve access, allowances reduce out-of-pocket, lab standards ensure quality, co-location is convenience. Only when you follow the loop, plan to exam to floor to lab to claim, do you see how many times the same ledger gets paid. There is a perfectly fair version of vision benefits, transparent reimbursements, true portability of prescriptions and pupillary distance, no lab mandates, equal in network terms for independence. That version doesn't maximize pay yourself twice. The current version often does. And once a system learns to monetize your benefit card as a steering wheel, it's hard to pry their hands off it. With the money loop closed, the exam room takes on a new role. It's not just clinical care. It's the script that justifies every upsell the system already knows you'll accept. The exam room. Diagnosis as a sales funnel. The door closes with a soft click and suddenly it's quiet. Charts on the wall, a glowing autorefractor, a chair that reclines with a practiced hiss. You're here for health, but the room is wired for conversion. Not by a villain in a white coat, by a system that rewards velocity, not curiosity. 15 minutes from hello to will get you taken care of out front. Vertical optometry is the blueprint. The doctor's name on the door, the retailer's logo on the floor, a shared target in the software. If you complete the journey, exam, frames, lenses, checkout, in one visit, the system wins on labor, on lab routing, on insurance capture. If you walk out with only a prescription, the funnel leaked. Watch how the script runs. Protest. Puff of air, retinal photo, autorefractor spits out a starting number. In the chair, the ritual begins, one or two or three tiny wins of clarity that feel like progress. Meanwhile, a templated recommendation set sits in the EHR. Given your screen use, I recommend anti-reflective with blue light and hydrophobic. Your plan covers standard. Premium is a small upgrade. It's subtle. Clinical facts braided with retail tiers. Free exam with purchase is the softest tether. The promise sounds generous, but it rearranges incentives. The practice needs retail conversion to float the exam cost. Staff learn the beats, mention the plan allowance early, steer to frames that make the allowance feel small, bundle codings into a narrative about digital life. None of it is a lie, all of it is design. Here's a 12-minute micro-story. A college student books a same-day slot. The exam confirms a slight bump in myopia, -1/4 diopter. The doctor mentions eye strain and suggests upgrading to our premium digital lenses. Out front, the associate preselects a $259 frame. Your $150 allowance applies. The menu appears. Standard AR included, blue light and hydrophobic together for $99. High definition progressives grayed out as not needed yet, which makes today's upsell feel prudent, not pushy. Swipe, sign, done. Clinical care was real, so was the choreography. Prescription release rules can add friction. By law, you're entitled to your RX after the exam, but the dance starts. We'll just verify a few details. It'll print at checkout. Pupillary distance, sometimes framed as a dispensing measurement, not part of the prescription. If you plan to shop elsewhere, you'll hear they can measure PD when they fit you. Translation, stay in the funnel long enough to fall in love with something on our wall. Lens recommendations ride house guidelines. A chain's playbook might say, for adults under 40, default to polycarbonate or high index at certain powers. Add AR to every order. Position blue light as a lifestyle baseline. For kids, emphasize durability and scratch warranty. When the insurer is in the family, those defaults map neatly onto covered SKUs and preferred labs. The associate isn't reading a margin chart. They're following a care path that happens to be profitable. Contacts are the quiet subscription. Fit today, rebate tomorrow, annual supply discount if you buy a year right now. Boxes arrive in opaque private label packaging that hides the original manufacturer. Switching away later means refitting fees and a new brand learning curve. Even the calendar becomes a leash. Reminder emails timed to your last order, coupons that expire just before you'd consider shopping around. Then there's speed as a closing tool. We can have these ready in an hour. That short-circuits comparison. You weren't going to drive across town after a long day and wait a week. You say yes to the package in front of you because the alternative is time you don't have. The lab upstairs isn't just a machine room. It's a countdown clock. Not every practice plays this way. Plenty of independent ODs hand you a clean RX, explain options neutrally, and thank you whether you buy or not. But the integrated model tilts the floor. When compensation blends clinical metrics with capture rates, goodwill loses to quotas. The pressure is ambient, a dashboard with red and green bars, a morning huddle about attachment on codings, a memo that reminds everyone the allowance helps patients say yes. Patients think they're deciding on features. Often, they're responding to frames and phrases designed upstream. Work from home package, night driving clarity, protect your child's eyes. All emotionally true, none priced by physics. The only number in the room that tracks biology is your prescription. Everything else tracks probability of you accepting, of you returning, of you staying inside the rails. The exam room should be a firewall between clinical judgment and retail momentum. In this system, it's the on-ramp. And the whole thing assumes a deeper premise. Your prescription will keep climbing, your lenses will keep upgrading, and your kid will join the cycle soon. That premise is where the story breaks, because the biology has a different lever than the sales sheet does. The myopia explosion. What changed? Here's the premise the sales script never questions. Every year your vision creeps worse. Stronger lenses forever. But step outside the showroom and the chart looks like a lifestyle story, not destiny. In the early 1970s, about a quarter of American adults were nearsighted. Today, it's north of 40%. In parts of East and Southeast Asia, school leaver myopia rates shoot past 80%. Genes didn't mutate that fast. Something in how we live did. To see it, watch a school day. Breakfast at dawn, commute underground, 8 hours in rooms lit like a dim office, recess trimmed to make room for test prep, homework under LEDs, screen time after dinner. That's not a morality tale, it's a light map. Our eyes evolved under a sky that routinely hits tens of thousands of lux. Indoors, even a bright room limps along at a few hundred. The retina notices. Biology runs on light. Epidemiology puts numbers to the feeling. Cohort studies show prevalence climbing within a single generation in urban centers as schooling intensifies and outdoor time drops. In some Chinese cities, near-universal schooling plus after-hours cram culture produced myopia rates in teenagers that would have shocked clinicians in the 1960s. Similar trends show up in Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. Meanwhile, rural communities with more outdoor labor and longer daylight hours tend to lag behind. Until the schooling and indoor time catch up, then the rates follow. This isn't just an Asia story. US data points the same way, roughly doubling since the 1970s. Europe trends upward. Australia sounded alarms as urban kids pulled ahead of their parents' rates. The World Health Organization projects by 2050, about 5 billion people will be myopic, and around 1 billion will be highly myopic, deep prescriptions that raise risks for retinal detachment, glaucoma, and myopic maculopathy. That's not about fashion. That's about disease, burden trailing a lifestyle curve. So what's driving it? The old answer was genetics. Yes, heritability matters. Myopic parents raise the odds, but the speed of change fingers environment. Schools that shifted schedules to add outdoor recess saw onset rates slow. Kids who clock more daylight hours start later, progress slower. It's not just screen time as a villain, it's the swap we made. Bright, far-field vision outside traded for dim, near-field vision inside all day, every day. Think about near work. Long stretches of focusing up close. Books, tablets, phones don't cause myopia by themselves, but they add load. The visual system accommodates. The retina and sclera interpret signals about defocus and effort, and over months and years, the eye can elongate. Axial length increases millimeter by millimeter. That's the mechanical heart of myopia progression. It's not your lenses getting lazy, it's your globe growing. Here, where the biology gets specific and surprisingly hopeful. Bright outdoor light seems to trigger dopamine release in the retina. Dopamine acts like a local messenger that tells the eye to hold growth in check. Indoors, the light levels often aren't high enough to trip that response meaningfully. Put kids outside for 1 to 2 hours a day, actual daylight, not through a window, and the odds of developing myopia drop. It doesn't prevent every case, it moves the curve. Meanwhile, industry messaging veers elsewhere. Fashion, blue light as a catch-all boogeyman, new lens designs and coatings framed as protective. Some of those tools help with comfort and can slow progression in specific ways, more on that later, but none replace the physics of photons hitting the retina at outdoor intensities. There's no SKU for sunlight. There is a business in assuming you won't change your day. A micro moment from a school that tried. Administrators in a dense city district carved out 2 longer outdoor breaks daily and opened a courtyard for homework in the afternoon. No LED upgrades, no fancy curriculum, just time outside. Over 3 years, the rate of new myopia diagnoses in their youngest grades eased compared to nearby schools that kept the old schedule. Not a miracle, a slope change. That's what population health looks like. Boring, cheap, effective. Parents feel trapped between doom and purchase. Get stronger glasses versus buy this new premium lens. The untold third option is habit. Push homework to a sunlit window. Weekend hours at a park instead of another hour under lamps. Bigger text, farther distance, timed breaks for near work. None of that kills reading. It balances the load your child's eyes carry. Here's the hard part the cartel doesn't have to say out loud. A later onset and slower progression in kids means fewer lens changes, fewer emergency jumps to high index, fewer contact subscriptions started in middle school, fewer specialty upsells at panic moments. Prevention steals future revenue. So prevention gets framed as an accessory, not a policy. Notice what's missing from the billboard. 2 hours outside daily. No margin in that sentence. No copay code. No celebrity collab. But if you map the dollars behind the counter to the biology in the retina, the lever is obvious. The explosion of myopia wasn't a mystery gene. It was a dimmer switch on childhood. Turn it back up and the curve bends. Sunlight, dopamine, and eye growth. To understand why outdoor time bends the curve, you have to meet the messenger inside the eye. Bright light floods the retina and kicks off a chemical note, dopamine. Not the feel-good buzz you get from a like on your phone, but a local signal in retinal cells that tells the growing eye, hold steady. When that note plays often enough, axial elongation, the slow stretching that drives myopia, slows down. When the note is faint because light is dim and near work dominates, the growth signal runs louder. Here's the catch most parents don't hear. Indoor brightness, even in a well-lit classroom or living room, sits in the hundreds of lux.